What purpose? The gentleman from Texas rise.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I hereby notify the House of my intention to offer a resolution as a question of privilege of the House. The form of my resolution is as follows.
Suspend. Members, please take your conversations off the floor. Gentleman from Texas.
Whereas the gentleman from New York, Charles B. Rangel, the fourth most senior member of the House of Representatives, serves as chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, a position of considerable power and influence within the House of Representatives. Whereas Clause 1 of Rule 13 of the Rules of the House of Representatives provides a member, delegate, resident commissioner, officer, or employee of the House shall conduct himself at all times in a manner that shall reflect credibility on the House. Whereas the New York Times reported on September the 5th, 2008, that Representative Charles B. Rangel has earned more than $75,000 in rental income from a villa he has owned in the Dominican Republic since 1988, but never reported it on his federal or state tax return, according to a lawyer for the congressman and documents from the resort. Whereas an article in the September 5th, 2008 edition of the New York Times, his attorney confirmed that Representative Rangel's annual congressional financial disclosure statement failed to disclose the rental income from his resort villa. Whereas the New York Times reported on September 6, 2008, that Representative Charles B. Rangel paid no interest for more than a decade on a mortgage extended to him to buy a villa at a beachfront resort in the Dominican Republic. According to Mr. Rangel's lawyer and records from the resort, the loan, which was extended to Mr. Rangel in 1988, was originally to be paid back over 7 years at a rate of 10.5%, but within 2 years, interest on the loan was waived. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe the House is in order.
Gentleman, it's correct. The gentleman from Texas deserves to be heard. Gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whereas Clause 5A2A of the House Rule 25 defines a gift as a gratuity, favor, discount, entertainment, hospitality, loan, forbearance, or item having monetary value, and prohibits the acceptance of such gift except in limited circumstances. Whereas Representative Rangel's acceptance of thousands of dollars in interest forgiveness is a violation of the House gift ban. Whereas Representative Rangel's failure to disclose the aforementioned gifts and income on his personal financial disclosure statement violates House rules and federal law. Whereas Representative Rangel's failure to report the aforementioned gifts and income on federal, state, and local tax returns is a violation of the tax laws of those jurisdictions. Whereas the Committee on Ways and Means, which Representative Rangel chairs, has jurisdiction over the United States Tax Code. Whereas the House Committee on Standards of Official Conduct first announced on July 31st, 2008, that it was reviewing allegations of misconduct by Representative Rangel. Whereas Roll Call newspaper reported on September 15, 2008, that the inconsistent reports are among myriad errors, discrepancy, and unexplained entries on Rangel's personal disclosure form over the past 8 years that makes it impossible to get a clear picture of the Ways and Means Chairman's financial dealings. The House is not in order, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman is correct. Members, please take their conversations off the floor. Clear the aisle. Gentleman from Texas.
Thank you. Whereas the House Committee on Standards of Official Conduct announced on September 24, 2008, that it had established an investigative committee in the matter of Representative Rangel. Whereas the Ethics Committee probe was underway, after the Ethics Committee probe was underway, the New York Times reported in November 24, 2008, that congressional records and interviews showed that Mr. Rangel was instrumental in preserving a lucrative tax loophole that benefited Nabors Industries, an oil drilling company, last year, while at the same time its chief executive was pledging $1 million to the Charles B. Rangel School of Public Service at CCNY. Whereas House Committee on Standards and Official Conduct announced on December the 9th, 2008, that it had expanded the jurisdiction of the aforementioned investigative subcommittee to examine the allegations related to Representative Rangel's involvement with Nabors Industries. Whereas since then, further serious allegations of improper and potentially illegal conduct by Representative Rangel have surfaced. Whereas during the recently completed August district work period, Representative Rangel acknowledged his failure to publicly disclose at least $500,000 in cash assets, tens of thousands of dollars in investment income, and his ownership of 2 pieces of property in New Jersey. Whereas corrected financial disclosure statements filed by Representative Rangel on August the 12th, 2009, now reveal his net worth to be nearly twice as much as had been previously revealed. Whereas the New York Times newspaper reported on August the 26th, 2009, that the United States Representative Charles B. Rangel, whose personal finances and fundraising are subject to 2 House ethics investigations, failed to report at least $500,000 in assets on his 2007 congressional disclosure form, according to an amended report he filed this month. Among the dozens of newly disclosed holdings revealed in the amended forms are a checking account at the Federal Credit Union with a balance of $250,000 and $500,000, 3 vacant lots in Glassboro, New Jersey, valued at a total of $1,000 to $15,000, and stock in PepsiCo worth between $15,000 and $50,000. Whereas Roll Call newspaper reported on August the 25th, 2009, that Representative Rangel's corrected filings also revealed at least $250,000 in a fund called ML Allianz Global Investors Consults Diversified Port 3. Whereas the aforementioned roll call story reported that Rangel also originally misreported his investments in 2007, that they netted him between $6,511 and $17,950 in dividends, capital gains, and rental income. In his revised filing, the range jumped to between $29,220 and $81,200. Whereas the most recent revelations by Representative Rangel have resulted in heightened national news media coverage of alleged impropriety and potential criminal conduct by one of the most senior members of the House. Whereas an editorial in the Washington Times newspaper on September the 1st, 2009 noted, "Charlie Rangel is a lucky guy. The Democratic congressman from Harlem, New York, just discovered that his net worth is twice what he thought. That's a pretty good day at the office for a public servant." Mr. Rangel also realized that he made tens of thousands of dollars more than he reported in many different years over the past decade. This is the most recent string in a series of financial bonanzas for Mr. Rangel, who last year admitted he had forgotten about $75,000 in rental income on his Caribbean resort.